Thank you. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here today. Let me just get organized.
Hi, everyone. All right.
All right, we're going to get started. So I'm super, super excited and like heavily nostalgic right now, back to my childhood here, speaking with you today. I'm Gabrielle Heyman. I run brand partnerships for Zynga, which is a large mobile gaming company with 200 million people playing our games daily. And I am here with Lisa McKnight. Lisa, please introduce yourself.
Okay, well, hi, everyone. Good morning. We are both flying in from California, so it's feeling even earlier for us right now. But anyway, I'm Lisa. I oversee the global Barbie brand and doll division at Mattel. And what that means is I'm responsible for our business and marketing strategies, product development, content creation, partnerships, you name it. I'm Barbie's manager, publicist, stylist, financial accountant, you name it. So happy to be here.
Yeah, and we are going to do some Q&A at the end. So if you guys have any questions, think about those as we speak, please. So today's topic is marketing leadership. And when Lisa and I were prepping for the call, she discussed how this topic of courage and how for marketing leadership you need to have courage. And in the context of the fact that Barbie is a brand with a 60-year legacy. And I was doing some research. Her birthday is March 9th, which is my mother's birthday. So she's a Pisces. I know. But obviously, the times have changed so much in the past 60 years. So could you just share with us a bit about the courage it took to kind of respect the legacy, but also update Barbie for the current time?
Yes, absolutely. To give you all a little bit of background, Barbie has always been a trailblazer. The doll was created over 60 years ago and was the first fashion doll in the industry. She created an entire new category of play. Prior to Barbie being introduced, the only dolls that kids could play with were baby dolls or nurturing dolls. So it was quite a break frame innovation to come up with this doll that's all about fashion play and storytelling and imagining sort of your future self. Fast forward to more recent years, and to your question, we were at an impasse. We about 7 to 8 years ago were seeing not only sales decline, but not getting the consumer playback that we wanted to see. The brand was losing relevance. We had missed the mark and had been promoting and marketing to kids. And kids still loved our products, and we were, promoting features and benefits of new toys, et cetera. But we had lost sight of the fact that millennial parents were getting more and more involved in purchase decisions. And they wanted to buy into brands that shared their values. And Barbie wasn't keeping pace. Not only were we not communicating to them the benefits of the brand, which are actually quite compelling, but we also were not evolving fast enough. We realized that we were being perceived as sort of one note, not multidimensional, and the doll itself was becoming incredibly polarizing. So we had to do some soul searching. We knew that we needed to modernize the brand, and our design team and my partner, Kim Colmoni, who's amazing, challenged her team to forget the 60 years of baggage, and if you were designing the brand and the doll today from scratch, what would she look like? And that freed them up to think about a whole new approach, and they dramatically evolved the form factor of the doll. They introduced multiple body types, different ethnicities, different face sculpts, and with that came a ton of complexity because we were shifting our entire system of play. So every fashion needed to be redesigned to fit on all the different body types. Our dream house, our cars, all of her accessories needed to accommodate these different body types. Packaging needed to change. Tons of work and thoughtfulness went into this. But the team knew that we needed to evolve the brand and make the doll a better reflection of the world that kids were seeing around them.
Yeah, it's so interesting too because I've been a digital native, so things happen so quickly in digital, but the manufacturing process takes 18 months, you were saying. And so what was that transition period like of like you were saying that the Marcom could update quicker than the manufacturing of the product. So how did you piggyback that transition?
Well, absolutely. I mean, again, it was to transform the doll and the brand was multifaceted. And while we had our design and our development teams working on the product line, we knew we could get marketing communications out to parents in particular more quickly. So we worked with BBDO, amazing agency in San Francisco. We worked with that team and created a beautiful campaign called Imagine the Possibilities that immediately started reminding parents about the benefits of playing with dolls and playing with Barbie. That when you play with Barbie, you can imagine all that you can become. And it is about role modeling and role playing your future self. And that immediately started helping to shift the perception. But as we all know, you've got to back that up. And so then shortly thereafter, we started introducing our new product line.
And you talked about like dreaming, allowing girls to dream and female empowerment. And I actually think that Barbie represented female empowerment the whole time. It's just the definition of how we see what that means has been updated and changed. Like could you talk a little bit about that, about the spirit of Barbie and like what she's representing for girls today?
Yes, absolutely. And again, to talk about what she represents today, you've sort of got to go back to her origin story. So like I mentioned, she was created over 60 years ago in the late 50s by a female entrepreneur, Ruth Handler, who wanted a different type of play experience for her daughter. Ruth had a son and a daughter. Daughter's named Barbara. Son is named Ken. It's real. And she saw that her son had action figures and toys that would allow him to pretend he was a doctor, a firefighter, a pilot. And her daughter only had baby dolls, which is wonderful, and that encouraged caregiving and being a nurturer. But she wanted her daughter to think bigger. And so again, that is sort of the origin of Barbie. She created a doll where her daughter could change the fashions, and every time she put on a different fashion, she imagined herself in a different scenario. One of the earliest fashions that she introduced to go along with the doll was an astronaut suit. Astronaut Barbie was introduced in 1961 before Neil Armstrong went to the moon. So I share this because female empowerment and believing that you can be anything and go anywhere is a huge part of our DNA. So today, what we do in our product line and our communication is we've got a program all around Barbie's careers. In fact, Barbie's had over 250 careers. She's very busy. And recently, what we like to do is develop dolls in careers where women are underrepresented. So we've got a lot of Barbie, for example, in STEM careers, because women represent about 30% of those roles. In addition, we create dolls of real women, trailblazers, women that are breaking boundaries. We've introduced a doll of Maya Angelou. We just introduced Jane Goodall, Madam C.J. Walker, Rosa Parks, Billie Jean King. Because again, we want kids to see real people doing amazing things and be inspired by that.
And you mentioned Jane Goodall and different people that represent such important, inspiring things for girls. And also there's this other thing looming in the background of global warming and climate change. And I thought it was interesting because obviously you guys are cognizant of this and being responsible about it. And so many dolls are plastic. And I mean, I have 2 kids and we have so many toys. And how are you, looking at sustainability as a key value for Mattel and Barbie?
Sustainability is incredibly important to the company. Barbie's parent company is Mattel. And we made a commitment to significantly reduce our carbon footprint by 2030. The first thing that we've been doing across the enterprise is, of course, looking at packaging. We've dramatically reduced, plastic and PET in packaging. We've dramatically reduced the number of tie downs that keep toys in place that frankly probably bother all of you when you're opening up toys for your kids. And then we've been looking for sort of more bio-resin materials for the actual manufacturing of our toys. And I'll be honest with you, it's not easy to find a scalable material to meet the quantities that we need. There's also manufacturing challenges. So I share that because we're on this journey and we know it's going to take time. What we have done, though, is started to test and learn. So last year we introduced our first line of ocean-bound plastic Barbie dolls. The line's called Barbie Loves the Ocean. Great looking dolls. They meet all of the aesthetic requirements. You'd never know they were made from an ocean-bound plastic. The line has done really well. We've also started to introduce recyclable materials to create all of Barbie's fashions. And again, this year we introduced Jane Goodall in bioresin materials because that was also something important to her. And with that, we created a lot of content to also educate kids about the importance of protecting the planet.
And I have a question around that because there's a lot of discussion about consumers really caring about the values of companies and that the values of the companies, match what they're purchasing. And so what has the feedback been from consumers and those millennial moms that are buying Barbies to that line and that product? Like, are they caring, do you feel like? Or, I buy a lot of Legos I have two boys, so a lot of Legos, and I have tons of Lego plastic in my home.
Well, consumers absolutely care, and partners care, retailers care, and yet I think at the same time, everyone appreciates it's not about flipping a switch. It is a journey, and this is taking time to migrate to these types of materials. So I think by showing the intentionality and the commitment is a great first step. We have not declared mission accomplished. And we were nervous. When we first launched the Barbie Loves the Ocean line, we were worried it would have a negative effect on the brand and would shine a light on the fact that we do use a lot of plastic. And for the most part, society has been pretty supportive.
Yeah, I think every parent here knows that it's a big struggle with this thing, but kids want to play, and it's an important part of life, especially for children. So, moving on with our discussion. So we talked about, updating the legacy of Barbie, and what about the critics? Because this is also feeding into the theme of courage. How did you guys stay courageous in the face of critics, like while you were making this transition?
Well, I like to say that feedback is a gift. We love getting feedback, good and bad. No, it hurts. We take everything very personally. I lead an incredibly passionate team, so we really do pay attention to the feedback. What I would share is, of course, it's important to, when you're doing something new, when you're doing something that's bold and break frame, to obviously try to anticipate every scenario. We have this expression called scaffolding, and we always make sure that we've got enough protection, scaffolding around the brand and around sort of the communication that we're giving. That should there be some folks that don't react the way we want them to react, we can still recover. So we're very thoughtful about the cadence of our communication, making sure the context is provided. Not everybody has been on the journey with Barbie over the past 8 years, so there's a lot of people, understandably, that have a dated view of the brand. Again, we've been around for 63 years. With that, it's a blessing. It can also be a challenge. So we have to appreciate that not everyone's been on the journey and try to just give them the facts, the information, let them know the intentionality behind what we're doing, and then appreciate the feedback and learn from it.
Yeah, and I think in today, I'm curious about how you feel about the feedback from consumers, because you've been at Mattel for a long time, And in that time, the feedback loop has probably changed quite a bit because now you have social media and comments, and it's really interesting to me how like vocal minorities can be such loud, so loud out there. So how has that evolved for you?
Well, it's so true. Yes, feedback can seem incredibly loud. And again, we've got a million teams and partners to help us understand, really how big is this, how monumental is this, and so forth. I'll give you one example of a recent doll launch that received a lot of feedback. We created a doll of Laverne Cox, so our first ever transgender Barbie. We talked about this for a very long time. I have a very passionate LGBT community within the team, amazing leaders. We've gotten a lot of feedback from the community, wanting representation in our doll line. Not an easy thing to execute, by the way, because a doll is a doll, and it can be whatever you want it to be. It can have whatever identity you want it to be. I mean, that's the beauty of Barbie. She's open-ended, and she's user-generated. So you pick up a doll, and she's got, or he's got, or they have whatever identity you want to give them. But regardless, we wanted to support the community. So we wanted to work with someone in the community to, frankly, have them share their story. So we created this wonderful doll of Laverne Cox, and it was very well received. She has an amazing, authentic story and connection to Barbie, which also made it really rewarding. But absolutely, there was feedback from people on social. Not my Barbie, not the doll I grew up with, never buying Barbie again. Again, that was pretty small and in the minority, but it's real.
Yeah. But I have to imagine there was also people at the absolute other end of the spectrum too. So excited.
Absolutely. And we knew we were doing the right thing. We had conviction behind it. That's, the message. You can't waver from your conviction. And another sort of pressure test that I always give myself is, how would I feel if a competitor came out with this brand or this idea, this execution, and if I felt envious or, gosh, they beat me to it, then I knew and know it's the right decision to make.
And who is buying that doll? Are there a lot of adults? I have to imagine that there's a lot of adults that buy those types of SKUs.
Yes, in that particular doll, lots of adults self-purchase, but also gift giving. A lot of people buying for their kids and then having a conversation around it.
And we also, continuing on this, and you mentioned this before, doll as talent. So you were saying that you're Barbie's publicist and talent manager. What is that like? Like doll as IP, Barbie as a social influencer, even that concept, like all of these things, because she's got this personality. Can you tell us more about that side of Barbie?
Yes, it's fascinating. There's the doll that everyone's familiar with, which, by the way, the doll is, there's 200 expressions of the doll, but there's that physical manifestation. And then there's the brand, and we like to say she's more than a doll. And we started to, a few years ago, think about Barbie in first person. One of the criticism or insights, I should say, we got from consumers was they didn't know Barbie. They didn't know what she stood for, what her values were, what her narrative was. So we created an Instagram channel called Barbie Style, where in first person, she talks about her day. She goes to events. She eats at restaurants. During the pandemic, she was in lockdown too. She made banana bread. She cut her bangs. She wore a mask. And it's been a great way to make her relatable, to make her appear less perfect, at the same time aspirational. And it's been a ton of fun to think of her in that way. Like, what else can we do with Barbie as an influencer?
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting because the pandemic definitely kind of broke this wall of something like aspirational versus relatable. So that's an interesting balance. And, she's a 360-degree franchise we were talking about. So people who love the Barbie vibe, Tell us about like the product extensions. Basically, you've got home decor, stationery, and then also even expanding into digital gaming, kids apps, NFTs. How about that?
Well, again, I mean, you mentioned it, but so in addition to thinking of Barbie as more than a doll, as an influencer, we do think of her as intellectual property. So where are we going to extend and expand this franchise? So Barbie is everywhere. We have a lifestyle product offering with apparel and beauty and home decor and sporting goods. We're in the metaverse. We've got a great NFT partnership with Boss Beauties that we just announced. We had an amazing program with Balmain earlier this year. She's got the #1 kids streaming app. And of course, I can't not mention the Barbie movie that is in development as we speak, which some of you may have heard about, but that's going to be a big deal next year.
Yeah, it's a fun fact that my brother's actually producing the Barbie movie. So, and Lisa was confused when we were talking because he's British and I'm American. She's like, "Wait, that's your brother?" But yes, we're global as Heymans. And so I know you can't tell us a lot about the movie, but I think the internet went crazy when all of the pics of them filming in Venice Beach and rollerblading came out. So is there any kind of little bits you could share with us about this? And also who's directing, the talent, because it's pretty like forward and exciting. So
yeah, it's going to be spectacular. What I can share is we have been wanting to do a Barbie movie for 20 years. And we never heard the right take. And it wasn't until 4 years ago when Greta Gerwig signed on board to be not only the writer of the script, but also the director that we had it. We just instantly knew. Now, we've been involved along the way with Greta, and obviously she's pushing the envelope. She's making us uncomfortable in certain areas. But it's not, going to be a 2-hour commercial for Barbie and for our products. It's a really interesting story. It's a very fresh take on the complexity of being a female in a very diverse world. It's not what you think it's going to be. Greta is wildly intelligent in her approach, and it's absolutely her story. And that's something that's interesting as a brand steward. You've got to get comfortable at certain points handing over your brand. So while we've collaborated, it's absolutely her story. She's done an amazing job with casting. So Margot Robbie is the lead Barbie, but I will share that there are many Barbies in this world, and there's a very diverse cast. We've got everyone from Issa Rae to, I'm totally blanking out, America Ferrera. And then Ryan Gosling is Ken. Simu Liu is playing another Ken. It's an amazing cast. And again, it's going to be a really exciting, fresh take on the brand.
yeah, and I think that you've got an excellent producer, my brother, because he's
The best of the best.
He produced Harry Potter too, but we were talking about how like he's a great steward of brands and
World builder.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think you guys are in amazing hands. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, I still have more questions, but I'm giving the audience a chance, so let us know. In the meantime, I do think it's interesting, even though we're, I think, at the tail end of a pandemic, to talk about what's happened during it and how the retail experience changed, how purchasing behavior changed. So I'm just interested to understand how the pandemic disrupted purchasing behavior.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about the toy industry and then Barbie. What happened at the beginning of the pandemic, and probably some of you participated in this, was that everyone went into lockdown and started buying activities for the entire family. So games as a category did really well. Construction toys, arts and crafts, all took off. Dolls kind of plateaued. Then about 6 months later, parents were exhausted and were looking for toys that would allow their kids to play independently. And Barbie started to explode. And our best-selling item is the Barbie Dream House, which has been in our line for 60 years. It's a big toy. It's a premium product. It's typically around $200. And it's usually that big holiday gift item. And it started to take off in July and August and September. And so it broke all sort of seasonality trends because families were not going on vacations. They couldn't host birthday parties for their kids. So they started to indulge them with toys like the Dream House that truly do have a ton of play value. So it was fascinating to watch.
But what about now? Like, has it gone, are people still buying, dream houses over the past summer, or now everyone's out and about? So have you seen the trend go back to what it was pre-pandemic in terms of seasonality?
Yes, I would say things are normalizing for sure. But what's exciting is, and this is not a good thing, but given what's happening with the economy, I think brands like Barbie that are known brands are still performing quite well. I think it is a difficult time to launch a new brand where people are, more cautious about their spending and want to buy into something that they know. So Barbie and other brands like Hot Wheels, some of our other games like Uno, doing very well. But absolutely, we're more normalized in terms of seasonality.
And I guess now going into a new season, right, with a potential recession. We have like 30 seconds left. Does anyone want to ask a question? No, we don't have time. Never mind. I take it back.
Oh, no.
You lost your chance. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I think everyone has really enjoyed and learned so much from you.